Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So today's upload, as you can tell, we'll be talking about an increased winter storm potential across the United States. And let me make it very clear that this upcoming week across most of the country, the first week of November will be absolutely stunning. Very warm temperatures, very clear weather, no in terms of no malignant weather, no storms, no rain, no snow, almost completely dry. So enjoy it while you can, because it looks as if quickly we may be looking at a completely different pattern at around next weekend time frame. So if you guys enjoy the weather, if you enjoy weather related content, I'm a hobbyist that makes weather videos, and if you would like to see more of this stuff, you could consider subscribing, checking out my other videos. And if you are a returning viewer, liking the video would be awesome. Alright, so thank you for doing that if you decided to do so. GFS Outlook, global forecasting system. I want to start off with this model because this model has been pretty consistent, and it's been actually doing a pretty remarkable job this year. And that's definitely something nice to see. So let's start off by looking at this model. Notice we still have a large storm across the Northeast. If you recall, that's the system I made a video about yesterday. Lots of snow, rain, snow squalls. I mean, the wind in my location here in Chicago was just bonkers. Very strong, very powerful. And I know across much of the Midwest it was the same story. And Great Lakes. So notice what we see is really just a low pressure that's already strong, and then we see a high pressure, and these two things combine to create a very strong wind pattern. And obviously that doesn't usually fare well, so we got 50 mile per hour wind gusts today. And notice that this storm moves into southern Canada, southeastern Canada. It's a full-fledged blizzard at some points. And again, the winds are definitely going to be there. The visibility is going to be reduced, and it's going to be happening for more than 3 hours. So definitely a blizzard criteria ongoing across Canada. Then we see a little system clipper like moving into the northeast this Tuesday. But notice just such dry weather, so beautiful. And this is for anyone that still hasn't done any of their garden cleanup, yard cleanup. This is the perfect week. Because later on in a forecast week, or in a forecast long range, medium range, to be honest, not even that far out, we could be looking at snow for a good portion, or heavy rain for a good portion. And definitely not sunny and warm, depending on where you live. Maybe warm, but definitely not sunny, as it will be this week. Notice Tuesday, Wednesday. I just want to take a look at some of these temperatures because, people always say I'd focus on the bad weather, and usually that's the case, because when it's warm, sunny weather, what am I going to say? Oh, it's going to be sunny, these temperatures, and that. When there's cold or precipitation-filled weather, there's a lot more to talk about. And however, this is still important, and I would prefer these type of temperatures in November than below normal cold. As usually that's when it's cold early November. It sometimes turns out to be a warm December. Notice we see just 60s, 70s every single day. The nights not even looking at cold at all. Barely any locations getting into the 32-degree range across the Northeast and portions of the West. Yeah, there will be locations dipping into the 30s, but nothing, in the 20s or teens like we've seen this past few weeks. So very warm temperatures. This is, you can see the daytime high, 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s, all over the place. Basically everyone is warm. The northwest will begin to cool off first as we start seeing big storms arrive onto the shore. And that seems to be the trend this year, that the pattern usually breaks with big storms coming onto the west. And you can see that we definitely see a more abundant presence of cold air as we push into Friday and Saturday of next week. So this cold air definitely starts reappearing at around Friday and Saturday, but again, it's still very warm for the most part, and many of these locations are just seeing what they should be seeing across the Northwest at this time of the year. Again, we'll be going from very warm to possibly pretty chilly, depending on where you live, to staying warm, depending on where you live. And unfortunately, that's what I have to say, because you may be living in California, you may be living in Florida, and wherever. So it's going to be different for everyone, even in the same state, same city, oftentimes with weather. So notice that next Friday, it's just absolutely incredible. It peaks. I mean, look at that. That looks like May, early to late May weather. Honestly, there are days in late May that are much, much colder. And notice 70s, 60s, Florida, the peninsula of Florida, looking into 80s, maybe some 90s. Look at that. I mean, just an abundance of warm air pushing in, southern Canada, seeing 50s, 60s. And then as we see into Saturday, we definitely start seeing cold temperatures up here, but we still continue seeing warm temperatures. But obviously with that curve right there, that's indicative of a beast of a system. And obviously the temperatures do spill, but the thing is, we'll be seeing many, many storms pass through a similar area. So this cold air will kind of stay north of, draw it outline. At this point, the models are kind of indicating cold air will stay north of this area. It could be north of here or north of here, depending on the exact track of the storms. But it never really fully makes its way, at least for a while, into the southern United States. You can see, though, where it does occur, it's pretty drastic. Very, very cold. We see negatives, negative 15 by North and South Dakota. So definitely impressive. Let's go to the precipitation, as that's what most people clicked on this video for. And notice that as we push this into the forward time, we see, again, very, very warm temperatures, almost completely precip free, but we do start seeing precip beginning onto the northwest. And we start seeing, a similar storm development to what we've seen so far this year. A system comes off the shore, develops across the mountains, heavy snow across Montana, Idaho, Wyoming. So there are already many locations seeing above average snow for those locations, and they will continue seeing above average snow for those locations. Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, much more snow's on the way. Even if this system doesn't turn out to form, there are so many more potential storms that it's most likely going to turn out to be snowy. Notice this system comes off into the plains, and this is where it blows up. You could see North Dakota starts seeing very, very heavy rates of snow, possibly. Again, the exact track to be determined, but this is not awfully far out. A week out, 160 hours, that is considered the medium range by all means. That's not the long range. And notice that as we push this into southern Canada, this thing is an absolute beast of a winter storm. I mean, it's 990. The millibars are packed quite intense. Obviously, out ahead of it will be warm air. Behind it, very cold air. The snowfall rates just out of this world. Obviously not, but they will be heavy. And there's this thing with fall storms where they may have limited cold air, but where the cold air is limited enough, where it could produce snowfall, it will fall pretty heavily. And notice this thing moves off into southern or central Canada, and this thing just explodes out in there and continues producing there. But notice we see another potential storm resurging with more ice, sleet, rain across similar locations. I got an absolute massive destructive ice storm. By the way, if you recall me making those videos about that ice storm using words like destructive and damaging, search up some videos and images from those locations. It's actually quite disheartening, heartbreaking to see a lot of those locations absolutely destroyed. Power outages, the ice was in some locations just out, not forecasted by any of the models. So definitely something that came true, unfortunately. But notice that as we look into this storm, this is far out, right? So I'm not predicting an ice storm again across these locations. There might be, but not at this point, it seems, or there's not enough confidence. Notice heavy snow, obviously, to the north. This thing takes a negative tilt, or positive tilt almost. Cold front to the warm front. Very heavy snow, rain, sleet, freezing rain. Obviously pretty heavy rain on the southern sides. Maybe some severe weather, we'll have to see. But look at that, 988, 986, and we just see loads more of snow coming in. The GFS really keeps things active as it shows several of those systems. You can see in the newest 18Z model run, it maybe winds things down a bit in the very long term, but that's just too far out to look. But look at the 12Z model run, and let's go to the time frame where it's this is the second storm it's predicted, but just 12 hours prior or 6 hours prior. You could see that it was further to the east, right? But it kept things a bit more active by including another potential storm right there. So, the activity is there and the potential is there. The unconfidence is also for sure there. So if I were to show you the total snowfall from the GFS, let's look at total positive snow depth change, because there's a lot of ice that was in here, so that might screw things up. But notice, this is the 12Z mile run. Quite a bit of snow across a good portion of the United States. But again, just to show you how much things are still switching around, This is the newer one, and you can see lots of potential for this. I think still is showing some of the ice, so that is exaggerated, but anywhere you live across, Iowa, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, I mean, I could go on naming these states for 30 seconds or a minute. Expect some snow because this looks to, get pretty exciting in the long range, and the unconfidence is there. The confidence levels are low, so that, if you will, makes more things exciting. Canadian model, let's just look at the 240-hour outlook. In terms of the total snowfall, it basically shows similar storm systems developing with similar characteristics, similar styles. And if you were to look at the total snowfall, the Canadian does definitely have pockets of heavier but also weaker. And notice that it doesn't have as widespread snow, but definitely still valuable to look at. Again, the Canadian has been mostly wrong on this, in the sense that not as accurate as the other ones. Not completely wrong, but this is the one we have going on right now, this beast of a system. That one pushes off into Canada, obviously blizzard conditions. We get that long week of just beautiful conditions. Then we start seeing the storms move on to the west, more snow into southern Canada, possibly more snow here. So you can see the Canadian does include a storm or two, but definitely in a different style. Similar style, right, but in different timing and setups, if you will. But again, the style is the same. It's these north to pretty much almost vertically, south to north systems, basically southwest to northeast. They're not, long range or long cross country trackers where they go from the west to the east coast. They usually disappear by the time they reach the east coast. The GFS parallel, this model run is very old, or relatively old. It's from 0Z Sunday, so it's the oldest model run out of all the models I'm showing you. Fortunately, this is not the operational GFS model, so this one does lag behind and not always have the data available. But it's still, the GFS parallel, to be honest, has been doing a pretty good job this winter, or this year, with a lot of storms, including this one right here. And notice a lot of snow here. But if you look at the GFS parallel model run, not much storm activity. I mean, yeah, we do see a storm, but that's almost nothing compared to what the other models are showing. Activity does increase, but really quite almost, little snowfall compared to what the other models are showing. And I just ran through that quickly because, I mean, you can see snow across the west, maybe the northeast, but anywhere where the potential is the highest, with the other models are showing, large amounts. The GFS parallel shows none. Looking at the last model, let's take a look at the European high resolution. Again, we have that storm system right now. You can see it's pretty strong and a lot of wind. That's mainly this thing. It's overcompensating its lack of snow with its wind. And where the snow did occur, it fell pretty heavily, right? But obviously, it wasn't a widespread mega snowstorm. It was just a winter storm. It had wind, it had rain, it had snow, it had freezing rain, squalls, lake effect, so classic winter storm. And notice this moved up into southeastern Canada, and that is going to produce some blizzard conditions. Up there, this is where it develops into, more of a classic power beast. Snow, rain, not anything in between, whereas over here it was kind of in a transition phase. And then notice we do see a bit more activity into the northeast into Tuesday, but the rest of the country, starting even, tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, just beautiful weather. I could almost picture myself outside in the garden getting my things done with this warm sun shining on my back and appreciating the nice fall weather. So for sure, get out and take the advantage of this because, as I mentioned several times throughout this video, no matter what model you look at, it's looking to get much more active, exciting for those that think it's exciting, or dreadful for those that don't like precipitation. I'm in between. I like the warmth and sunniness, but I also like my fair share of storms. Notice that as we push this into the longer range into Saturday, a week from now, a little bit less than a week, we see our first storm move on to the coast. It does so a little bit earlier, actually, on Friday, but by the time it starts organizing and produce precipitation, it's already Saturday and Sunday. Much more snow, occurring across the west, the mountains, and this, again, the European, pretty supportive of what the other models are showing. Develops a large system with a huge shield of snow. More rain to the south, but each model does its different little thing. You could see the European develops almost a second one. Tries to develop a second one right out of the cold front of this first one, and we'll see how that goes, but definitely the potential for the snow is there. And if you were to look at the total snowfall, the European may look a bit not as impressive, but again, This only goes out to 240 hours, so that's literally where, right around the long range starts, kind of like the benchmark. So, but where the snow does occur, it's going to occur heavily, especially across southern Canada. And again, this will probably shift to the north or south or west or east as we push into closer to the storm. Notice this does include a weak little track across Minnesota, Dakotas. A bit more lake effect. That's really with that first system again across southeastern Canada, but you can see it gets much more active across these locations. In fact, some locations seeing 30-40 inches possibly. And maybe I could get a better look out of what the GFS was showing with this website, because on Tropical Tidbits sometimes it does it mix in the ice. With the Kuchera we could possibly get a safer estimate. And this one, this one's completely delayed. It seems only goes out to 240. Let's see the 18Z also. Okay, well, notice that the 18Z is the one that we were looking at. And yeah, generally the same though. Pretty high snowfall amounts and a lot of activity and potential for large snows. This is the Kuchera. If we go to the total accumulated snowfall, assuming 10-1. By the way, if you don't know what the difference is, this is assuming a 10-1 snowfall ratio, so 1 inch of rain produces 1 inch of snow. And those snowfall ratios differ based on how cold it is, and the Kuchera is basically supposed to estimate this based on the temperature profile. But oftentimes I find that the Kuchera does overestimate the amounts in terms of the snow. And you can see that the total snowfall 10-1 is a bit less than what the Kuchera shows, but it's not always the case that that the Kuchera is wrong. But that's basically it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will catch you all guys on the next episode. So lots of snow potentially on the way. Plenty of cold air, as you saw, depending on where you live. 8 to 14 outlook. You can see this puts it out pretty clearly. Cold across the west, warm across the east, and this will differ on the exact storm track. And this is from the timeline of 9th through the 15th, as the 6 to 10 day outlook is mimicking that, but it's a bit further. The warm air is a bit further to the west. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all guys on the next episode. See ya.